Hi, and welcome to another episode of Walleye Chronicles. This week, we have the man behind Lure Lipstick, Mr. Mike Dickerson. We talk Michigan Walleye Tour, we talk walleyes, we talk wolves, we talk mule deers, and everything. So sit back and enjoy Mr. Mike Dickerson, everybody. Talking fishing. Today, though, we're going to get into a lot of different stuff. We're going to do I got my first ever soft lure guy. We're also going to talk some woods today, which is pretty awesome because I don't get to talk woods very often. And some walleyes. Mr. Mike Dickerson is with me today. How you doing, Mike?
Good, buddy. How are you? Thanks for having us on, or having me on, I should say.
No problem. I look forward because there's a lot of things that I want to touch on today as I scrolled through and did a little bio on you to find out questions. The more I looked, the more questions I got. So we'll see what we can run.
Okay, cool.
So first off, you're Davison, Michigan. Born and raised there?
Yeah, born and raised 97. Went to school here, grew up here, lived here my whole life.
You're like almost exactly between St. Clair and Saginaw.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I actually have a place up on the bay, and then I travel down to St. Clair quite a bit. My son is a bass fanatic, so we're constantly running. It's about an hour south. So we run down there for smallies. He's like, "Dad, we're going walleye fishing again, only for casting." So I'm funny. Like, "All right, bro." Yeah.
So where did kind of give me a background on your fishing history of growing up and where you got to, and getting out of high school and all that kind of fun stuff?
So I grew up hunting and fishing with my grandpa and my aunts, my uncles and my dad, and we always fished, but we primarily did a lot of hunting. And then as I got older, I transitioned into fishing quite a bit, and I started becoming an avid walleye fisherman. Had a lot of fun. I built a lot of relationships when I was trying to build my landscape business, and through fishing, because I could get 3-4 guys, corporately, I could take some guys on the boat and we could BS. Yep. And built a lot of relationships through hunting and fishing that way. But fishing seemed sometimes a little bit easier, right? A little bit more manageable. Didn't have to be quiet, could get to know guys maybe a little bit better sometimes. So not that it's a better platform, it just kind of worked that way. So then I started going up to the bay, and, to shorten up the story a little bit, I really hit it hard as I got married. And just found that I could get away for a day on the weekend, or maybe after work, I could, run up with the guys, a couple guys that work for me, and just get away for a few hours. So just walleye ended up being a passion of mine. I absolutely love them. Absolutely love them. There's so many ways to chase them critters.
So what's your method of chasing? What are you looking to do first?
So I've been a trolling guy for years. We were actually, able to do well, and then, a couple MWTs, trolling and different things. And I just trolled. And then as I got some mentors in my life and developed more as an angler and, learned more, started doing a lot of casting, and now I primarily cast. I feel like I have the best odds of our team doing well if we're casting. So it's just kind of transitioned that way, as you know. Yeah. That's kind of why we're going to start the casting corner, I'm going to call it, in our Lure Lipstick booth at our show. So
that's awesome. I was talking with a guy I had on last week, and I wanted to bring back trolling, but I was like, we should do like a trolling talk just for old school men, because no one talks trolling anymore. I'm like, we can have an episode where all we do is just break down trolling and see how many views we got on that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually talked with the owner of Church Tackle, and then I was talking with my buddy Roy Miller. I think you know Roy. Yep. He's big with offshore, right? So offshore and Church are your big Michigan brands, American brands. I'm like, yep. How cool would it be to set up? I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this from all my casting buddies, but how cool would it be for setting up a Church Tackle offshore trolling only tournament to help them promote their Michigan made, American made companies. And for some of your old school guys, or even guys that just want to go troll for the weekend, maybe grab their kids or grab their buddies, whatever, to do something like that, I think it'd be good, for the industry.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's, when it comes to tournament time, you are correct. We all kind of have to make that choice to dip away from trolling and get into targeting bigger fish, and which is fine. But like, it also, it's funny because you kind of leave, because a lot of the weekend guys, a lot of the guys that aren't in tournaments, that's their still main way what they're fishing on the weekends. They're getting out there. I'm sure by you on the Big Bay, they're getting out there. They're trolling Erie, Green Bay. They're still, those guys are still putting in the hours pulling boards.
Absolutely. And our I don't want to go into too much like, hey, we want a tournament or whatever, but the tournament in Saginaw River that was super, super tough with the MWT, I think there was 97 guys that didn't catch a fish.
Yeah.
Okay, out of 150. What I'm getting at is to get our last couple fish to win that tournament, like we casted, like I casted for 2 days. And the last 4 hours, we switched over to trolling gear and pulled number 7. I'm going to give everybody a little something right now. Pulled number 7 flicker shads up on a small 100-yard flat on the Saginaw River, and that's how we got our last 3 fish and cashed that check.
Damn.
We couldn't get them casting. So there's still a time and a place for trolling, guys.
There definitely is. There definitely is. So you got into walleye fishing. What made you jump into doing tournaments? Was it something that you just want to do with your friends? How did that kind of come about?
Well, as I started walleye fishing more, and I got to know the community and started to getting to know some influential guys and charter captains and different things, I figured out personally that I thought I was going to develop the fastest and learn the most by going to a tournament, because it was going to force me to drive farther away from the boat launch, go out and find fish, and it just forces you out of the box, man. It just makes you grow. And now that I've done it, I'm so happy. It's so humbling. Like, I went out and just got absolutely smashed by a lot of really good sticks. But, we've got our licks in too. So, and now that we've done it for 5 years, we're starting to, be more consistent at the top. And it's just been a lot of fun. But I started with tournaments because it just teaches you more. You gotta learn about fuel management, time management. It just, everything matters all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. And it pushes you out of those community holes, right? You can't just go sit and, it's not a Saturday. You can't just go sit in the community hole and troll behind your buddy Jim and just do a big circle over and over again. And catch your, 6, 7 fish, whatever it is, and head home. You really have to get out and push the limits of what your brain tells you to do. And what you've learned, right? I mean, that's the hard part, especially if it's a place where you fished before, to make yourself think outside the box that you grew up in, right? It's tough to.
I mean, you think a little bit about the Detroit River, Saginaw Bay, and then you start fishing with some of these guys who fish tournaments for 20 years, and you realize almost nothing. It's very humbling. It's awesome. I mean, it makes you grow. It really does.
Yeah. It's very interesting when they come in, when a group of professionals come into town, if it's MWC, NWT, or now with H2H, what that brings and the knowledge, like the knowledge that I might not be in the tournament, but my brain and all my attention is on them when they're in town or when they're around where I fish. You go, okay, that makes sense. Okay, just pick up little things, and most people don't. But I'll watch if it's tour level gold or if it's the NWT thing, and I'll rewind and go, oh, he was over there. Maybe that doesn't make any sense, but okay, whatever. I'm gonna go check it out and see why he was there, kind of a thing, and try to backwards break things down that I have never even noticed before.
Yeah, absolutely. You start paying attention to current seams, wing dams, all that little stuff that you read that's supposed to be just basic knowledge. Well, it forces you to understand what that stuff is in real life situations.
For sure. So where did lure lipstick come in?
So my first MWT that I ever fished was right around COVID. Okay. I've been fishing tournaments for 5 years now. Heavy. I've fished tournaments before, but let's get down to the brass tacks here. I got into the MWT 5 years ago, and it was right around COVID. And we could not fish the Canadian side of the Detroit River. That was our first stop that year for the MWT.
Okay.
So all we could fish was clean water on the American side. So the bite was just a lot tougher. For
Mm-hmm.
those of you out there that fish the Detroit River, you kind of probably understand what I'm getting at. So anyways, we started breaking down water, and I'm pretty green at the time, and I had developed a relationship with the guys over at Lure Lipstick, and I was kind of on their team, but not like, I was a new guy, and but I'd used their product and had a lot of success and seen the difference it made in cold water conditions specifically. Okay. So
Yep.
the water was just coming up to that 43 number that I like, 45, and we were over on the American side, and I started spraying down Jason's purple perch and camel perch that we hand paint
Mm-hmm.
on a wing dam. And for them guys that fish over there, there's a wing dam on the lower side of the river that you can do quite well with. And I started spraying them lures down, and we literally took a plastic Berkeley gulp container, and I filled it with that lure lipstick sauce,
Yep.
and I'm dipping that plastic in there like every 3-4 casts, and I got it on the back corner of the boat, and I'm bouncing along that current seam, and we start smacking them. And shorten up the story a little bit, we end up taking 11th place, my first, in my eyes, big tournament, MWT.
Yep.
I know it's not the NWT, guys, take it easy, but it was, I'm competing against a bunch of real good guys. We take 11th place, and there's no doubt in my mind that it helped with some of our bites. And so specifically with cold water conditions, I seen it really work, and I started using it on some crankbaits, on some stuff, and I seen the difference, and I believed in the product. So I had a conversation with the owner at the time, Don, and I bought in, and I was 50% owner, and a lot of
Okay.
people do that for a while. So I believe I bought into it, and then I tried to, mature in the fishing industry and learn more and understand the whole, pheromone scent product and our plastics and how things worked. And because landscape construction contractor, I don't know about retail, so I'm learning, right?
Yep.
And so anyways, I meet all them guys, I get a lot of good mentorship. We've done pretty well the last 5 years in tournaments, and I attribute some of my success. It doesn't work every single day better. It's not, you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna sit here and feed everybody a line, but in cold water conditions and some days, I think it really does make a difference. I truly do. And I know some of our color patterns, specifically that camel perch, Mighty Mike, Jason's purple perch, June bug perch. I know that stuff matters on the Detroit River. I know it does.
So what? Hey, listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fixed TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows, along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fixed TV. What's the process of painting them? Is this a normal painting? How does it how does that kind of happen? I mean, is there special paint that goes with it, or kind of
So
how do you guys?
yeah, we get you have to use a specific type of paint, and then I actually have the girls in the back of the shop there. I got about a 17,000 square foot facility in Davison, and we squared off the back section. It's about 3,000 square feet for the gals, where we house all our inventory, and they do painting. They actually custom hand paint every single piece of plastic.
Dang.
It's they're very patient. They're awesome. They really deserve all the credit when it comes to the plastic. And then one of my best friends, Del Tanner, is the guy behind the sauce. He comes in and he pours every single bottle and puts his heart and soul into working with some guys and keeping the recipe fresh. And if he gets some negative feedback, we do what we need to do to fix it. If need be, and just keep it consistent so that recipe's there.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
weird to me that it seems like I know everybody uses scents, but it seems like a lot of stuff kind of comes out of Michigan, out of that Great Lakes area over there. Is there a reason behind it? You think that more companies that do scents come out of your region, kind of in a way?
it could attribute to influence, amongst each other in the market, the water conditions that we have, and the success that some of us have had using scent. You got Lake St. Clair in the backyard that a lot of guys have done well with scents regarding smallmouth bass fishing. And
Mhm.
then, guys in the walleye world, we're starting to use a lot of crossover stuff between bass, and I think it's just kind of been a perfect marriage. And I don't think that, quite frankly, the boys over in Wisconsin and Minnesota get the credit they deserve on how good of anglers they are. And I think they're maybe a little tighter lipped overall. That's a
Yeah, I
fragile
mean,
fishery over there in Green Bay. You know what I'm saying, brother?
right. Right, and that's what's weird because I see like there's other companies that come out of it. I'm like, why all these? I thought about today when I was going through your guys' stuff and I'm kind of reading through it. I'm like, and I kind of did a little search and I'm like, there's like 3 or 4 companies that are scent related ish, not necessarily pheromone stuff. Some grind up stuff, some do
Yeah.
all kinds of things, whatever. But they're all out
Yeah,
of
you
your
got
your
Procure.
state. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is I don't. I just kind of threw me for a loop because I don't really, I travel. There's a big lake in the way, so most of my travel is out to Minnesota to fish, and yeah, it's not a lot of. I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe a bait thing with traveling stuff across borders and things like that. So it's easier just to have use plastics and scents, things like that, since minnows and crawlers and all that kind of stuff can be kind of odd in your world over there.
Yeah. When you start messing around, with that Canadian American border and different scenarios, it's sometimes it's easier just to grab some plastic and do work. And I think as you develop as a fisherman, artificials give you a certain challenge that you respect and you like to figure out, if that makes sense to you.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I actually think that the last couple years on NWT have actually kind of hurt that for me. Like I was really all in on, I don't know if you remember when head to head first came out, you couldn't use any live bait. And I'm like, oh, wave of the future, And I like you said, a lot of my new stuff I use is straight out of the bass world. I watch the bass shows just to see what they're using, see what's working, and kind of see if I can cross it over for here. But once the live scope really came out and they went to basically just doing crawlers, my brain's like, well, why am I messing around with plastics anymore? Which got to just love some plastics, and there's ones I still use all the time, but like it almost put my mind back a step when I was already down the path of being pretty much not having to have dirty hands anymore to now I'm kind of like, okay, well, I probably should have this in the bag just in case now, instead of just getting rid of them altogether.
Well, everybody thinks they have the code cracked, and I'm just going to say it. Everybody's grabbing a 3/8 jig head and putting a crawler on it and pitching to fish on a scope, and they think that that's the only way to catch them. I mean, that
Yeah.
some guys, that's just it's kind of hurting the industry a little bit, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because I think it's, I don't know. I got to be careful with that. I don't want to say too much, but
Okay, so
I think it's important to push anglers. I think it's important to
that's true.
push you outside of your comfort zone
Yep.
and to work for that bite. I think it makes us better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the only other thing I'll say on the live thing is the night crawlers are kind of getting weird nowadays. I don't know what they're feeding them, or because we don't get Canadian night crawlers anymore in Wisconsin, but our night crawlers it's almost like you're just hooking into cardboard. It's kind of weird. Their insides are kind of weird.
yeah, they're trying to make them quick.
So you've been involved with the lure lipstick. That's been going well. Tournament fishing wise. So you said you started 5 years ago. I see last year you made a top 20 in team of the year points, which on that tour is really, I mean, you guys got some hammers over there and some great lakes you're fishing. So how was your year last year, and how that make you?
It was good. It was humbling. We were in the right areas at the right times for the most part. We didn't get the bites we needed all the time. Kind of made some adjustments. We ended up, and then to finish the year, we ended up with the tournament was out of Port Austin. We ended up with a 73-mile run all the way up to Alpena to get on the right fish. That's where it was won. Probably going to get a little bit of crap from guys for talking about it, but we ran 73 miles up and 73 miles back, and we ended up fourth in the championship, and our teammates ended up in third. So we finished strong and ended up getting a bid to the NTC, and I'm excited for this year, buddy.
That'd be different fishing for you, though.
Oh no, I love the Sioux, baby. We were there last year.
Always, it's. Oh, I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking of last year. Sorry, I'm thinking of this last year.
Yeah, no, it's at the Sioux.
Yeah, I was thinking of
yes, sir.
Dakota. I'm like, well, that's
yeah,
right
no,
up your alley.
it's
that's right up your alley.
Yeah, and my partner Eric Carlson, he won up there back in like 14 or something. So we love it up there. We did well up there last year. So I'm excited. I mean, it'll be fun. You got to earn every bite.
Right. You know, the one thing that's weird about the MWT is you guys fish such big water on everything you do, right? There's no small Winnebagos or Mille Lacs. I mean, you guys are fishing, even obviously the Detroit River is a massive, massive body of water. You guys, you know, it's weird. You guys don't ever have a time to take not a step off the gas, but, you know, between making sure you have the gas, all that stuff down, it's a lot of extra things you got to think about all the time. Or most of us, you know, on the tours I'm around here, we hit Green Bay once a year maybe, and then the rest of it's, you know, smaller areas. You guys are really hitting big water all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we have the Great Lakes, and being the Michigan Walleye Tour, you got your cycle of Huron, Erie, St. Clair. You know, St. Clair's a tough fishery, but you know, so we spend a lot of time in Lake Huron, you know, Saginaw Bay, which is part of Lake Huron, and then, you know, Lake Erie, Detroit River. You know, and that's the nice thing about tournaments. The Detroit River is basically, 22 to 26 miles right in there somewhere. That thing, I don't think nothing if I'm at the bottom running all the way to the top and then working my way all the way back down for the day. Like once you start tournament fishing, it's like, oh, we're just rip over here 10 miles or rip over here 20 miles. It just, I mean, we almost won. We took like, what was it, fifth down in Erie 3 years ago. And we ran from Sterling State Park. We ran 84 miles one way.
Wow. So have you ever been terrified out there? Any issues? Any like getting, you know, where you're getting kind of hairy, breakdowns?
Yeah, I've been in a couple issues where it was pretty tall. It was pretty sporty, as we call it. But I've been on the water a lot my whole life, so I usually feel pretty good about us out there. And then I do my best to do all of my pre-checks and keep us in newer equipment and as reliable as stuff as I can. So I sometimes I feel a little bit too overconfident in the equipment, but you know, we're checking oil. We do a lot of things to make sure we're safe when we're out there. So far so good. Been really lucky. And yeah, my wife's always, you call me when you get off the water. So it gets hairy sometimes, brother.
I bet. I mean, you know, we don't, like I said, you know, a few times up in Green Bay, and that's just, you know, it's a different, you know, like if I'm fishing Winnebago or some of the other lakes, it's okay. You know, I can drift ashore after a bit, you know. I'm not going to capsize 30 miles out,
Sure.
right? It's just, there's not that kind of thing. Even Green Bay to extent. I mean, you know, you can take a left or a right and get to a shore, and, you know, in a little bit, you don't have to worry about too much long. You know, I mean, you have to worry about it, but there's easier escapes than being just straight out of no man's land, like you guys find yourself a lot. And that's the one thing too about, you know, getting away from trolling. You said that it's easier to kind of jump around now when you're not, you know, trolling. A move for trolling was kind of a big deal back in the day. Like it took some time. Like if you picking all your stuff up, going and moving, setting down, and then giving your boards enough soak time to understand what's going on there. Right now, you can bounce around pretty quickly and go back to the same spots you may have tried out in the morning. And hey, they weren't hitting now. Maybe we'll come back in the afternoon and see if they're cracking that.
Yeah. this whole forward facing sonar thing, whether you run a Lowrance or you run a Garmin, when you put that scope down, you understand if there's fish there. And those of us that have become a little bit proficient at it, and you pretty much know what you're throwing at, the size you're throwing at, and what's going on.
Yeah. And the reaction too. It's easier to see, I think, that, I mean, and you can put if you're trolling, you can put your scope out to the side and watch, but you don't get the same feeling if you're one-on-one with that fish.
Yeah, no doubt. When you're when you're one-on-one and you're moping those fish and doing different things and teasing them, and you can see them flipping and turning, and you can understand if they're getting excited, if they're not getting excited. They give a lot of tells. It's super fun. It is super fun. Hard on the neck a little bit, but it's fun.
It's hard on the neck a little bit. Yeah.
Looking down all the time.
Can be tough too. I mean, and you guys are working with the waves and all that stuff. That gets tough to manage. Of like, you're managing, how you're controlling. I assume you're on the trolling motor with your mount.
Yeah, we're running a Fish Obsessed right on the right. I mean, to me, it's the way to go. We're running a Minn Kota All-Trex Fish Obsessed mount. And then we're looking at 8616 Garmin.
Fair enough. That works, right?
And then we got a 62 in perspective with it up above it. So.
All right. So so you guys have 3 people in the boat, right? You can have up to 3.
Correct.
Do you guys fish 2 in the front, 1 in the back, or you guys just kind of rotate through? Do you guys fish side by side, or how do you kind of work the boat?
Typically we got one guy on the shuttle, and then we have, in the back of the boat, just behind the helm, and then we have 2 guys up front, and they're taking turns feeding off of each other. One guy gets hot, the guy that's loose just keeps feeding that guy, retying, whatever needs to happen, your ego's not your amigo, and we just do what we got to do to help each other. But typically we're side by side in the front, just taking turns. And if the guy misses with his first cast, the other guy's right there in there. You know what I'm saying? And then if he's right on good, the guy driving at that time, he'll follow it for him. Like, we constantly are just selfless and just working with each other. And then we got a guy in the back with the shuttle.
He's hoping to get lucky. That's interesting because the front dynamics has become kind of interesting to me, watching different people and different guys work together in the front of the boat. Like, how well they work together. If there's some boats, it's a main guy and the second guy just works off him, whatever, doesn't do anything to help. There's the switch back and forth guys. There's guys like you. It's kind of interesting to see how the dynamics of the front of the boat is kind of changing with the live scope and how guys are choosing to use it with each other.
Yeah, we kind of play it by ear. And some days, like, I'm feeling it and I'm doing good on the motor. Other days, Eric's doing good. We got Austin this year. He's he's amazing. He's going to be up there. I'm going to end up in the back of my boat some days. Like, we whoever's kind of feeling it that day, and whoever's got the twitch right and got things, you know what I mean? Like, we just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually got one of my guys that loves the shuttle.
Wow. There you go. Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, everybody's had those days where I've had days where I didn't help at all. I was no much of a help. I was there to net fish. And other days it flips around, it's the other way around. It's like, they're like, hey man, what you doing? I was where you were yesterday. Today I just got the hot hand. Yesterday I had nothing. I was just netting all day long. It's funny how that kind of comes and goes in the tournament world.
Yeah, and when you say you didn't do much when you're not catching, them tournaments where you win, I mean, everybody's clicking, like, everybody's got their part, like, everybody's tying and checking for abrasion and making sure them knots are good. And, as this guy netting, he's handing that same lure, you know what I mean? So you can stay proficient. And,
Yep.
Everybody plays that part. Just because you're not the guy catching the fish doesn't mean you're not playing just as big a part. That's what I try to.
Yeah.
I keep myself in check with that. You know what I mean? Like, some days I'm not going to be the guy catching the fish, and especially with the guys I fish with. I mean, I I mean, I've gotten pretty good now, but the guy I got usually up there in the front with me. I mean, he basically taught me how to cast, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, there's days I whoop them, but there's a lot of days I don't. So, I just, whether it's, setting my power pole or setting bags or setting, there's a lot of, or running the sniper pole. There's a lot of little things you can be doing just
Yeah.
housekeeping wise.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to make sure that next fish isn't popping off from dull hooks or something crazy, right?
Yeah. That's true. So what are you looking forward to this coming year?
I'm just looking forward to being on the water and working with our teammates. We got an awesome team we're working with. We have a lot of fun. Last year's the most fun I've had tournament fishing yet. It was fun. So, my number one thing I'm looking forward to all year is the NTC, to be honest with you. My goal is to get one of them rings, them top 25 rings. I want one so bad. If I could somehow pull that off, that would just be, it's like a bucket list item for me.
Right. For
So
sure.
I'm gonna work hard and things got to go right. And there's so many good fishermen. So we'll see what happens. But I'm really looking
It
forward.
really is the best.
I'm looking forward to the whole tournament year.
Right. It really is. So question for you. You fish with other boats. How do you guys kind of run your team? I mean, is it you break down this water, we break down this water and kind of share information, or is it just I'm fishing that way, we'll let you know if you're catching something? How do you guys go into the tournament weekend of the plan of, you break this down, I break that down, or just go however we end up and just share information?
We only have one team that we work with typically. This year we're gonna have two. What we did last year is we go into a piece, a body of water. We've all been paying attention to different things that matter going into that tournament, whether it be temp, just kind of putting our finger on the pulse on what the fish have been doing up till now in transition for the year, if they're behind or if ahead. And then we'll actually sit down with a map and get into each other's boats and break down, okay, you're going to go check this piece of structure, this piece of structure, this piece of structure, and then we'll go check this piece, this piece, this piece. And then depending on what we find, there's typically, you can only break down, there's only so much you do in a day to do it right if you're really looking at stuff. So, and then we reconvene every evening, have talks about what worked, what subtle little nuances and different things needed to happen in order to get them bites or trigger them bites. And we just adjust daily, and we're wide open, and we're texting each other, and we're completely 100% transparent, all six of us.
So yeah, so you guys are 100% fishing as one, basically.
Correct. Last year, the championship, Roy and his team, literally, like, I freaking like, hey, bro, we just stroked freaking a 5.5 pounder. This is a nice pot of fish rolling behind us. They came trolling in behind us. Bing, bing, bing. I mean, they ended up beating us by 0.2 of an ounce. They finished third. We finished fourth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we were there to work and help with each other.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll switch gears a little bit. So you also are quite you're the total outdoorsman. You spend a lot of time in the woods as well, or the prairie. And tell me about your Nebraska mule deer.
Back in 2018, I had been going out to a good buddy of mine. He has an outfitting business out in Nebraska, and I've been going out there with him and spending a lot of time with him. And he's big into archery. He likes to do spot and stalk as well as I do. And really, them big mule deer, they don't deserve to die with anything but a stick and string. And in my opinion, so we got set up in the morning, and this big deer had been around for a couple years, and me and him were sitting up on top glassing, and there was actually 14 bucks that come across and they were headed up into where they usually go, or it's hard to get to. You ain't gonna get to them. And him and two others stopped short in this bowl where there was some nice clover and stuff. And I looked over at him, and he looked at me, and I goes, "That looks like a pretty good spot." And he goes, "He's in trouble." So we sat there for about 2 hours. They got settled in, bedded up on some banks down in these drainages,
Yep.
and we snuck back out of there. Went back to the house. I took a shower. He took a shower, and all our scent free stuff. Went through all our clothes, sprayed down, and then came back out and went in on it's about a 5 hour stalk.
Wow.
Last 5 hours before it was dark. And we were right down to taking our shoes off and stuff. It was wild. And we got snuck in on them. On the way in, I'm laying there and I'm tucked up against this bank, and he's right next to me, and he's trying to peek around the corner with binoculars, and we're kind of taking turns shifting and going, right. And a ladybug lands on my bow, and I like looked over, I whisper, I'm like, "Hey," I'm like, "this deer is gonna die." Like, it was just like a little good luck omen. So
Awesome.
we had one last little jaunt, and we got over, and there was like this little hill that we could get behind. I got behind, and my breath control, because we had to belly crawl quite a ways. I mean, I don't look like it now, but I was a little better shape then. And so we belly crawled over there, and then he had stood up out of his bed, and he was feeding on that clover. And I had Mel videoing, and he's like, "All right." And I drew, and I come up, and he was 58 yards. And I had Mel call the yardage for me. So he's 58 yards. I was shooting my Matthews MR6, and I freaking I popped him at 58, and he come up out of that drainage, and you could see the blood come out of his nose. And I looked at Mel, and I'm like, "I freaking 10 ringed him, bro." And he went over, and he ran about 50 yards, and he stood there, and he just looked back at us, and he just stood there for a second, and fell over right there. And
Damn.
Mel and I fell to our knees, and I might have shed a tear or two. It was yeah, I think it was like the year or two after I'd lost my dad, and I just got this necklace made where I carry his ashes with me.
Yep.
And I remember reaching in and grabbing this thing and kissing it and looking up at the sky and just thanking my dad. And
That's
it was
awesome.
yeah, I don't want to get all funny on here, but yeah, it was and I remember him and I just sitting there and just looking over there for like 10 minutes. And then we walked over there and walked up to him. We just like stood there like in awe. Just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
actually came together.
Yeah.
And then yeah, had a ton of awesome experiences since then, and was offered a
So,
lot of different things to expose that deer and to expose that country and to expose where he was at and all that. And this is probably the most I've ever talked about it, ever,
so what did that
because I just don't
deer
want to
end up?
mess up their family ranch, you know?
Yeah. No, I gotcha. So what did that deer end up becoming?
The Nebraska state record with archery. It beat the old record by 10 inches,
Wow.
197 and 4/8 net, 204 and 4/8 gross. The
Wow.
old record was 187 and change. So
That's a hell of a deer, and a great story to go with it. You
yeah,
know, you put in the work for it. You guys saw it out there. You put the work in, put all the time in, and to have that done. I mean, talk about just because it didn't have to be. At the time you obviously didn't know it was going to be a record or nothing, but all that, and then that you get the extra kiss of of what you got out of it, and the experience you have. Then you have the record as well. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome story, actually.
yeah, I didn't plan on putting it in a record book or anything, and I've never put anything in a record book before. And I've got quite a few whitetails and stuff over the years and different animals, and I've never put anything in the record book. But that deer, just Mel and I talked about it and just felt like it kind of, I don't know if I did it again. I don't know if I'd put it in there, but it was,
Really?
yeah, I don't know. It deserves the respect.
Yeah.
Mel deserves the respect.
Hmm.
It's in Nebraska, big bucks and bulls and stuff. The college professor there did a story. We did a story and stuff. He's in there, and I mean the animal. It's all about respecting that animal too, right?
Yeah,
So
for
I think
sure.
sometimes these guys expose these big animals for their trying to gain their influence on social media and
Yeah,
different things, and I just don't think that it's always the right thing.
I gotcha. No, that makes a lot of
So
sense. It should be about the deer, and and to me, like about the chase too. Like you say, like you didn't just,
yeah,
you didn't see him you didn't see him on the hilltop and go, okay, well, I'm gonna grab my 308. We got to go about 20 more yards, and I can take a crack at him.
yeah,
You guys went back, showered, cleaned up, which is which is a straight bow hunter thing to do. Like, hey, we're gonna go for this, and we're gonna spend this time doing it. We're gonna go back and scrub down to make sure that nothing. We're trying to leave nothing, unturned here to get as close as we possibly can to this deer, which is pretty awesome.
absolutely, absolutely. It just and you're going to take a life of an animal. Like it's a big deal. It's a big deal. You're the first, in theory, you're the first person to ever touch that animal.
That's true. Yeah,
Like
I never thought about it that way.
it deserves every bit of everything you have to do right by that animal.
Right, for sure.
It's not just
You
killing.
also, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a hell of a story, man. So another thing I want to talk to you about is you've harvested the wolf.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you?
Yep, sure
So,
did.
so
2 years
I've
ago.
never talked to nobody or anything, but so tell me about that experience.
It was it was it was wild. I was up in Alberta, with a good friend of mine. I go up there deer hunting at his place, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come back and go wolf hunting?" I'm like, "Wolf hunting?" Like I always have wanted a wolf, but they're hard on the landscape. The actual government up there pays um an actual friend of his to fly 3 different helicopters, and they go out and they harvest as many wolves as they can
Wow.
because they're so hard on the moose and the elk herds and the deer herds, and they kill a lot of the animals, right?
I
So
suppose
I'm like,
and
yeah,
way up there, there's not a lot of hunting pressure. There's just miles they can go and no one's around.
yeah, it's very desolate, very, they call it the bush, it's thick, it's big country. It's big, old timber. And so he got talking to me. He's like, "Come back and get a wolf." I'm like, "Yeah, I always wanted one." He's like, "Check it out." I'm like, "All right." So went back up there, and when you go wolf hunting, you're sitting over dead moose kill, or depending on the property you can hunt, you'll sit over a cow or whatever. And but he had some moose that's roadkill that he had got legally and stuff, and had some moose kills out. And so I'm sitting there, and you sit from dark to dark. They take you out in the morning, drop you off in the dark, and then pick you up at night, and you're sitting over this bait, and these wolves all of a sudden they show up, and the bait piles are 200 yards away, so you're making a 250 yard shot, and you don't have very long when they come in. So I'm sitting there, and I'm gonna expose myself a little bit. The first day I'm sitting there, and one comes in at like 30 yards, and all of a sudden it's just right in my face, and I get my gun up real fast, and I blow the shot. I mean, I'm so nervous and so messed up and shook up, like I'm embarrassed. I just totally blew it. I mean, I'm that guy, right? I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So I go back and I tell him, and he's like, "No big deal." He's like, "Things happen." And so I went out there, and then on day 3, I'm sitting there, and I was actually having a cup of coffee. It was pretty cold. It was like negative 15 Fahrenheit or something. I did have a heater, but I'm in a blind, but it's still freaking cold. So I'm having some coffee, and I'm looking, and I'm just staring, right? And I'm just staring. I'm like, man, I wonder if I'm gonna see this wolf, and I look over, and there's this river coming down through here. It's gorgeous. And I reach down to my right, and I set down my coffee, and I look back up, and there's the wolf that I shot looking at me at about 20 yards the other side of the kill, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's a wolf.
Hey, listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fixed TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fixed TV.
And it's a white wolf with just a little tint of like gray sitting next to me here, some silver and gray and stuff. And um, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to happen. And I remember waiting until he wasn't looking, and I got my gun to the window on my sticks, and then he come out, and he was, I clicked him, and he was 240. I got the gun up on him, and I shot and laid him out at 240 yards.
Wow.
And then I remember just sitting there shaking for like 10 minutes. I was like, and I mean, I do a lot of hunting, bro, like a lot. And I don't remember shaking like that unless it was, well, probably my first really big deer, but it was wild. Like I was just like, oh my God, I got a freaking wolf. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And then, so I text Ben and he comes out, and then, they grab it, and we go back out to the main road there, and I grab it, and I'm bear hugging this thing, holding it, and taking a picture and stuff. And it was so intimidating. Like I'm just looking at it like, wow.
Right.
So that's kind of the short wolf story.
Oh, that's great. Like I said, I've only known one person that got to go hunting, wolf hunting. I've never actually talked to anybody that got one. It's a spirit creature, right? And to be able to go out there and harvest that, and that's pretty awesome, man. I mean,
Yeah.
if you check out his Mike's Instagram, was it Snowman Outdoors and his other stuff, you got quite a bit of great deer, great animals that you've harvested over the time. It's pretty impressive, actually. As I was going through your stuff, just doing research, I'm like, I think he should be on some kind of a hunting podcast, not a fishing podcast. This guy could put some stuff down.
Yeah, it's all good, buddy. I love the outdoors. I love being part of the industry, hunting and fishing. I think it's important to, support both. And I just love walleye fishing. That's who I am. I don't go to bowling. I don't go to darts. I don't go to the bar. I don't do anything but hunt and fish, and include my family as much as I can in it, especially now that they're getting older.
Right. So if I had to take away the bow or the pole, you only could do one again. That's it. Which one am I taking? Which one are you going to stick with?
Oh, I'm shooting a bow. I'm sticking with the compound bow until I can't pull it anymore. And then I'm going to suck it up and use a compound, a crossbow, but I'm going to shoot my traditional bow as long as I can. My compound bow as long as I can.
Awesome. So
yeah,
I had to get to the hunting in there, because I just thought that was two things that just caught my mind. I'm like, that is a huge mule deer, and the guy shot a wolf. So I kind of had to add that. I don't know if any other. I could say I don't know any other walleye guys that have shot a wolf, and I don't know if anybody have a mule deer record. But great stories go with it too. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So. Coming up, we are filming this early, but this is going to come out about a week before the Madison Expo, which I believe you guys are going to be at.
Absolutely. Yes, we are. We are coming to Madison again for our second year. We got a vamped up booth. I officially took ownership of Lure Lipstick in June of 2025. I'm now 100% owner.
Nice.
I no longer have a partner. And I'm scrambling to get my prototypes done for a new plastic that we're going to be releasing. We'll see what happens. But I'm new to this. I'm learning. But we're going to have fun. Yeah, we're going to have fun out in Madison. We got a great group of guys. We got to know the boys with Superior Fishing Products well. We actually are going to get an Airbnb with the boys. I got 4 of us coming. And we're going to have a great time.
Nice. So, you were there last year. How was it last year for you? How was the people like what you had going on? And are the sales, all that kind of stuff? Did everything go well for you out there? You looking for another good year? You're ramping up for this year?
Yeah, we are. We're ramping up. We're gonna try to apply to the casting guys a little bit more. I'm gonna try to have a little better selection of hair jigs for you guys out there in Wisconsin because I know they mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
And that whole casting corner, that's where I kind of thought, let's try to get things right for and love on our guys out in Wisconsin. I'm trying to find some more pro staff out there and build relationships in Wisconsin. I haven't I met nothing but great guys out in Wisconsin and made some good relationships with Chad, and I don't know if you know Chad, but
Burnsy's the best. I was just gonna say, I
Burnsy
know
there.
you.
Yeah,
Burnsy's about
yeah.
5 miles away from me as I sit right now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's I'm excited to be there. We're gonna bring some ice fishing stuff, some ice fishing plastics and jigs. We're gonna bring our ice fishing scents, our waxworm jelly, and our perch jelly. Try to move that over there a little bit. And then I actually partnered with Denali Ice Fishing Rods, and we're gonna bring a selection of ice fishing rods from Denali. Just try to make sure that we're supporting the guys over in Wisconsin. And I'm open to if somebody wants to stop by and let me know how we can do better for the guys over there and what market to tap into regarding Minnesota, man, that's what I'm looking to do over that way.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny. Everybody that I've talked to, we had the ice show here a little while ago, and the ice show was leaps and bounds better than the year before. So hoping that's how it seems like the Wisconsin pocketbooks were open a couple months ago. Hopefully they stay open
Cool.
for you down there. But yeah, I mean, it's a you guys got a big booth going on. You got three booths, I believe you guys gonna roll.
Yeah, I think we took up 3 spaces.
Yeah.
Educating the market over there. We were recepted really well. The people were just awesome last year in Madison. We did well revenue wise. I was happy. We covered our costs, made a little bit. But we're educating people. Our split tails. A lot of guys don't realize, they're great for casting and stuff on Green Bay. And the jigs, we didn't understand the market fully. And we're bringing some stuff that's gonna, I think, be a little bit better match for you guys over there. I think we had a little bit too heavy stuff with us, and so we're adjusting.
Though that Green Bay market gets pretty heavy. I was in a couple of boats before the NWT championship, and there was some pretty big weights that were being hooked on. I was surprised. I had nothing in my boat that I could have hooked on for the depths we were fishing, because there was some 1 ounce stuff getting put on. I'm like, holy man, this is, my whole life growing up inland fishing, as small as you can get, you can feel that's what you fish. And then when you get to, I'm sitting up there and like, no, man, just you need to get down as fast as possible. Just a whole change for me.
Yeah. When you start jigging and stuff, we had a hard time moving some of our 1 ounce jigs last year at the show, and our halves went okay. And then Roy from Fat Boy, I have him pour a bunch of smaller custom stuff, and we actually have a Fat Boy jig section in the booth. That's going to be part of our casting corner. And then I got some nice jerk shads and some different things that I think will work well. That'll be very appealing. I got some nice pro swimmers and things that I'm just going to try to take care of the boys over there,
That makes sense. So with your plastics, do you guys pour yourself, or are you buying blanks and painting them after that?
Right now, to be totally transparent and honest with everybody, we're buying the blanks and we're custom painting them. I am currently in the process. I'm going to let it right out of the bag. I'm in the process of developing a new style of plastic where we will be pouring them in Davison,
Awesome.
Michigan.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm super pumped.
That's pretty cool.
Super pumped. Yeah, it's going to be, I'm going to target, it's going to be essentially a crossover type bait, which I think will be very, very, very conducive to catching bass and walleye. It's going to work really well. Kinda. I think to grow the company, to get it to where I can make an impact on some other people, and my goal is to take a few really good close personal friends of mine and maybe some guys I don't even know yet. And maybe they have a sales job, or they have, I'd like to build a cool brand
Yep,
I think we're going to have to touch the bass industry to do that, to be honest with you.
probably. Probably, I think it's tough to get as a walleye only company really to get, and to be quite honest, where you're coming out of Michigan, that's kind of tough too in a way. It's it's really weird when we talk about. I want to get into this a little bit with you too. It's weird when we talk about walleye fishing and where people are from. Michigan always seems to get left out. I don't really understand why this is. Why you guys are kind of like you're kind of like the black sheep of the walleye family. I don't know because you yeah, I don't know if it's because you have Lake Erie, and we all think, well, Lake Erie's Lake Erie, everybody can catch fish out there, and you have some great fisheries, right? But I think it's because we don't really mingle much because we have a big lake in the way, right? I mean, it's harder to go. If I want to come hang out with you guys, go to Detroit, that's 14 hours, right? I can go to a lot of things. I can basically go the whole Minnesota in 14 hours, right? So I think it's weird. I don't understand. What's your take on that? Why do you guys feel like you're kind of, redhead stepchild over there? Or
I don't feel like I'm redheaded stepchild at all, but I'm going to get myself in a little bit of trouble. I think if you take a guy that comes out of Wisconsin and a guy that comes out of Minnesota and you bring them over to Michigan, I think that a guy out of Michigan sometimes has a hard time beating that guy,
I got you.
because I think you guys have had to break down water and really. I think it's just different. It's not as, I don't know if it's not as plentiful, but when I came over to Green Bay from Michigan, it was different breaking down water and finding fish, and them nomads over there are
Yep.
different than going to Lake Erie or going over to Saginaw Bay, where they're huge walleye producers, right? So it's not hard to catch them. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I,
It's
I,
just a
I
different
definitely get it.
style of fishing, right?
Yeah. I think that makes sense. The fish seems to be you guys have more plentiful of fish over there. How things have been run a lot better than what say Minnesota's going through right now and Wisconsin has gone through, right? I also think there's so many different styles of fishing here. If it's the Winnebago chain to Green Bay to the river to the Mississippi, there's a lot of different styles we kind of have to figure out. Where I think you guys can kind of, you know, somebody that's capable of trolling will catch a lot of fish. Somebody that understands how to troll and read graphs can be really successful over there. Over here, not necessarily. You're gonna have to kind of figure out how to do, work the weeds, work out in no man's land, work, current. And I just think there's more skills I think over here, more to learn. And I do think you guys have done better at understanding your population of fish and making sure there's a good population of fish, right? I mean, it would be
Yeah.
easy for you guys to open up commercial fishing and just let it go, and make more money that way. And you guys choose not to. In the past, other states, we've done that. Other places have done that. But you guys have commercial fishing, but you don't, even with the numbers being kind of out of whack, they still make sure that you guys are going to have the fish out there. So it seems maybe your DNR is doing a better job than ours a little bit in that perspective. But yeah, it just
Maybe.
always feels like, I always feel like Michiganders don't get any respect in the walleye world. That's kind of how it feels to me.
Well,
but
you guys at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you guys are, honestly, you guys are pound for pound, the boys over in Wisconsin are more diverse. Like they have to be.
Yeah.
Like they're throwing a hair jig 1 second, then they're throwing a crawler, then they're throwing a spoon. There's a bunch of guys in Michigan that don't even know about throwing spoons to walleye, and it's deadly.
Right?
But you know what I'm getting at, brother.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
you could be pulling flicker shads. You could be like there's so many different little things you got to do to be successful day in and day out over there. In comparison to, you can go out in Saginaw Bay or Lake Erie and you can troll and catch fish.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying. That's the big difference, I would say.
That's fair. I get it. So you guys, you're not bad fishermen. You just maybe.
Hey.
That's okay. That's okay because Wisconsin and Minnesota spend all our time hating on each other anyway. So It's funny because,
It's all good.
I grew up on the Winnebago system, and growing up, all these great walleye fishermen come from Winnebago, and I'm like, but everybody hates the lake. Like you never read a bio and they say, what's your favorite lake? No one ever says Winnebago. But if you ask what their worst lake they hate fishing, it's always Winnebago. And so I was like, okay, well, that's why these guys are good fishermen, because they had to learn all these different techniques to grow up here. How is Max Wilson able to get through growing up fishing on Winnebago to be where he is? How is he not frustrated fishing this lake, right? They just were had to figure things out to keep fishing. So I always find that rather funny that all these guys grew up on the lake, but none of them liked the lake. So it always makes me laugh.
Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So I want to get you out here with two more questions, because you're
Okay.
two sides of this. So first question, if you only could go hunting one more time, where you going, what you doing, and who you taking?
Oh. Wow. That's a deep-rooted question, buddy. Even though my dad's passed away, I'm grabbing my dad.
Okay.
I'm heading up to where I grew up hunting in West Branch, Michigan, on public land, where we shot nothing but spike horns and 3-points.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to go back up to our old family cabin where we pumped water and had a bonfire. And we're going to hang out and go hunt public land and try to grind out a freaking 4-point.
Right. God, there is nothing better than public land hunting. There really isn't. Well, I mean, when you get older and you put a heater and, you like that, but that's a great one. That's a great one. I like that, the public land. So the same question based with fishing. You only get to go one more time. Who you taking? What you fishing for? Where are you going?
Wow. I'm taking my son and I'm going to take him down to Lake St. Clair, and we're going to go smallmouth bass fishing.
Hell yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun. Well, Mike,
but I'm going to try to negotiate taking both my boys. Is what I really like to do. But
that's awesome. Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah.
It was awesome to talk to a man that's harvested a wolf and one hell of a mule deer, and to kind of see your insights of where you come from and what you're trying to grow over there with lure lipstick and all that kind of fun stuff.
Absolutely. Anything I can do to support you guys, and to make relationships over your way. I'd love to meet some guys and love to have some great relationships over that way.
Right, and you're going to, so the Madison Expo is February 27, 28, and March 1st down at the Alliant in Madison, and you'll be down there.
Yep.
I believe you're over by the trout ponds area-ish.
Yeah, we're right next to the trout pond, right on that back wall of Crossmo Flava Dave that's selling boats, and it'll be a good time. I love seeing all the kids. We always give the kids some of our chapstick in the trout pond, and they can outfish their buddies.
Nice. Maybe we'll be putting some of that little waxworm juice on there from there.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
So I hope to see you. Come out and see us.
I'm definitely going to be down there doing some filming and stuff, so I'll come by your booth and mess with you guys a little bit as well.
Cool. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure being on, and thank you for having us.
No problem. Thank you. And that concludes another episode of Walleye Chronicles. Hey, if you can do me one favor, wherever you're listening, can you hit that like and subscribe button? It actually really does help in the long run. And if you know somebody or want to be on an episode of Walleye Chronicles, hit me up on my socials at Matt Snell on Facebook or on Instagram, or Smile and Fish on the TikTok. And keep your eye out. Early 2026 merch. It's coming, everybody. So thanks a lot again for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.